Welcome to the broadcast, everybody. There was a fabulous reception at Buckingham Palace, but watch out, because Ngozi Fulani might be about. She could be parading around in fancy dress, in disguise, waiting to pounce. So watch it. Don't you dare be asking anybody where they are from. Do not you dare begin asking anybody where they are from at this gathering. Can you imagine all the diversity and inclusion training that went on before this reception? A fabulous reception to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Windrush generation coming to these shores. It was a glittering affair, loads of beautiful people, and sprinkling of celebrities here and there. The King and Queen on best behaviour, but actually looking really rather relaxed, considering what's at stake if you dare come out with the wrong question, dare come out with any little civility. Actually, I think they should have brought out Susan Hussey for her return, her official comeback. I'm hoping that fallout from that reception and the curious case of Ngozi Fulani, otherwise known as Marlene Headache, I think that might have hopefully been peak wokeness, peak political correction gone wrong, gone mad, gone topsy-turvy. You know what I mean, dear. The heat's getting to my head as usual. But I'm hoping that was peak woke madness and that we are slowly coming down the other side. The nervousness of all those wokies in this room full of black people. Don't dare ask them anything. Luckily, most black people have got their heads screwed on and are down to earth enough not to get offended over these ridiculous, unconscious, or I should say unexisting biases. They are so unconscious that they don't actually exist. Ridiculous. Well, everybody there was wonderful, everybody there was beautiful, everybody there was full of goodwill, and everybody there was so respectful to the King and Queen. And there was none of this nonsense, none of this mischief. It was people coming together in the spirit of togetherness, understanding and compassion. And everybody there was just absolutely charming. And no mischief makers, so I was very pleased to see that so far. The King also unveiled 10 new portraits of Windrush elders, and the former troop ship Empire Windrush landed in Britain on June the 22nd, 1948, carrying people from across the Caribbean who had responded to an advert that was actually aimed primarily at white Europeans at the time. This advert recruiting workers to come to our shores. But it attracted the eyes of those from our colonies and former colonies. This advert offering tickets for £28 to those who wanted to come here and work in the kingdom. And between 1948 and 1970, more than 500,000 Windrush migrants from the West Indies left home to emigrate here to the kingdom. It was a treat to see so many beloved icons, such as Baroness Fluella Benjamin and Sir Trevor MacDonald, what an absolute sweetheart, and one of my personal favourites, Moira Stewart. I love that gal. Not quite sure why, but I do. And there were some very handsome faces there as well. I saw a few gentlemen which I wouldn't have minded brushing shoulders with at a reception with a cocktail in hand. No, I wouldn't have minded if they'd have brushed into me. This one in particular was rather dishy, wasn't he? I'm not quite sure who he was, but not bad at all. And also on that date, the Queen and everybody else have been super busy this week. It's hard to keep up with them all. But she held an audience with the Colonel Ruth Weir, the head of the Royal Australian Corps of Military Police. And there was also a Bees for Development garden party to mark the charity's 30th anniversary. You see, she's president of Bees for Development. We care about bees. Of course, they have the queen bee, don't they, in the hive? So there is an association with royalty for royal bees and royal honey. And she got to have a taste of honey. Oh, yes, she did, and sweet it was. She helped to make a paper bee sculpture and rubbed out a drawing of the insect to symbolise their destruction. And do you notice how glorious the weather is this week in the kingdom? As you know, I'm not a great fan of it myself, but I never deny how beautiful it can be, especially for a wonderful garden party gathering. And the Queen looked very summery and very gorgeous. As did the Princess of Wales this morning in Nuneaton. Actually, she was wearing a frock, which put me in mind of what the Queen's been wearing this week, this white and green number with little smatterings of white, similar colourways to the Queen, but beautiful. The children in the crowds were absolutely carried away and gone with the wind with excitement to see their fair princess. As she went on walkabout, shaking hands and presenting them with high fives, and she met staff at a children's clinic where they are taking part in a study that's aiming to improve the identification of distress in babies. You know, this is all to do with her early years foundation and Shaping Us campaigns, this kind of thing. This is just one more initiative, a study that is funded by her Royal Foundation Centre for Early Childhood. And this trial is evaluating the use of the Alarm Distress Baby Scale in the United Kingdom, which is used to assess how babies interact with their environment to help health professionals and families better understand the way that babies express their feelings. And I must say that it is really quite satisfying to start seeing what is growing from these little acorns that have been planted by the Prince and Princess of Wales during their time as Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Quite satisfying, isn't it? The little buds are coming through, we have some saplings now, and they are on their way to going into great oak trees of great presence and usefulness to our society in so many myriad ways. It's heartwarming. We'll see one of William's in a little bit today in the broadcast as well. But here is the King journeying to Pickering. His Majesty arrived at the North Yorkshire market town by a royal train, and I didn't know much about Pickering, I must confess, even though I adore what I do know of Yorkshire. But oh, it does look charming, doesn't it? A charming, quintessentially English market town. Absolutely gorgeous. I might have to take a trip there myself. I wish that I was being pulled on the royal train, pulled by the Flying Scotsman, as the King got to experience. Very lovely seeing him come in that beautiful train, which is a famous 100-year-old locomotive, and he unveiled a commemorative plaque in the ticket hall and was greeted by enthusiastic crowds and Union Jacks fluttering in the air. One woman fainted in the heat and the excitement, and there was lots of fainting last week, wasn't there, when William was on parade doing his Colonel's Review in advance of Trooping the Colour, which takes place this weekend. Fainting galore past the smelling salts in the heat as usual. The King visited the quaint little shops at the marketplace, the kind of places that I could spend all day with friends browsing around, taking peeks in. Actually, I've got a few weekends coming up over summer with friends doing just that. It's just my cup of tea, my dear. Yes, chocolatiers and a local butcher's that sells produce from the Duchy of Lancaster under the King. Wonderful. And he took to the local church with Vicar and signed the visitor's book that received its last royal visit in 1937 by Queen Mary, the King's great-granny. So it was wonderful to see such cheer. And you know what else was absolutely wonderful? It was wonderful to have confirmation that Catherine, Duchess of Kent, lives and breathes. Yes, she's alive. We have confirmation. Because she's been reclusive, hasn't she? She's been hiding away for a long time. We didn't see her at the King's coronation, that's for sure. I don't believe she was even at the late Elizabeth's funeral. But she just turned 90 a few months ago, and a portrait was unveiled by her daughter, Lady Helen Taylor, in this rare appearance at James's Palace, together with her husband, the Duke of Kent. And it was painted by the saxophonist Rob Burton, who is just 23 years old, and he's part of Future Talent Group, who played as part of a concert during this evening at St James's Palace. Well, it was the Duchess herself who co-founded the group to help people from low-income backgrounds discover music. How gorgeous is that, with all her experience as a primary school music teacher? She puts it to good use. She puts all her skills to good use. And the young chap said that it is an incredible honour to paint someone who has played such an important part in my development. The Duchess has made a tremendous contribution to the support of young musicians like me. And this concert took place on the 62nd wedding anniversary of the Duke and Duchess of Kent, so congratulations to them. But it was really in celebration of the Duchess's 90th birthday, which was in February earlier in the year. But it was the Duke of Kent that requested that the concert take place on their wedding anniversary. So a sort of dual celebration. How romantic and how sweet and how lovely to see her. And she looks gorgeous, doesn't she? 90! 90! Do you see how beautiful the winter season can be? Absolutely glorious. The Prince of Wales was looking very handsome in blue as he attended the opening of Centrepoint's Reuben House development, part of the organisation's independent living programme to combat youth homelessness. Very worthwhile, this programme, which aims to deliver homes of their own to 300 young people in developments in London and Manchester. And here at Reuben House, there are 33 new flats that were available for 18 to 24-year-olds to live in. It's affordable housing with a capped rent at a third of their take-home pay. So they have to be in a job or in a full-time apprenticeship to qualify, but rent is capped at a third of their income, of their salary. Because this is to prevent homelessness from happening. Do you see? Because prevention is often and more usually more effective than cure, isn't it, long term? So they are looking at solutions to try and prevent homelessness from happening in the first place, which is by giving people a chance to live in these expensive cities like London and Manchester, where rent goes through the roof, and people can't get a rung on the housing ladder. Well, let alone that, they can't even afford to pay their rent because the rent costs more than their salary. So these young people that are trying their very best to get through life and to contribute to society and do their bit and not just sit at home on welfare for no reason, which lots of people are getting into these days since we were all sent to quarantine and encouraged to work from home. Well, some people don't want to go back to work and they don't necessarily want to contribute to society. But welfare should go to those who deserve welfare and can't work for real reasons. But there are those who are cheating the system and frauding their way through the system and just sitting there doing nothing with their lives. Well, these people want to do something with their lives. They're trying to, but it's very hard to even have a roof kept over your head with the poor pay in some sectors, in some industries. Well, the Prince of Wales is on it and he's trying to help them out. And that is what I love about what the Prince and Princess of Wales have been doing over the last few years. Their great life's work and tapestry is to try and tackle these problems from the root, not just with a temporary band-aid over a gaping wound of a problem. They're trying to tackle them, whether it's early childhood or homelessness, looking at it strategically from the root. And he got to spend time with the team and the residents there at the moment, and he has been patron of Centrepoint since 2005. So good work, good job. Zara de Lara was a confectionery candelabra. In fact, she absolutely put me in mind of my rosebud candelabrum that I showed off for you in my previous broadcasts. Yes, she was like a walking, talking candelabrum as she showed off this fascinator, this floral fascinator and fuchsia dress, as she met with her personal stylist, Annie Mile, ahead of Royal Ascot. Yes, this was created by the Australian designer Rachel Henry. I couldn't help but splutter and chuckle when I heard that name, Rachel Henry. Can you guess why it tickled me? Well, it also tickled me because this particular confection is called the Drama Girl, with 10 fake roses. So many different references to a certain Duke and Duchess. But I thought it was wonderful, very whimsical, and we wait with bated breath to see exactly what accessories Mrs. Michael Tyndall will be wearing for us at Royal Ascot. I think this was just a sort of tester that she was doing, playing with some choices, but I expect she'll wear something different. I think she should have worn that. I think it's rather wonderful. But one thing for certain that we do know is that her accessories most definitely will include her husband in one hand and a bottle of booze in the other. And speaking of the gaiety of the Tyndalls, I don't know if you'll recall, but when all that affair was happening with the Plume, when Princess Anne wore the plume and obscured Harry's vision, well, I came to you several weeks ago, very soon after the coronation, I believe, when I had received whispers telling me that, in fact, even though people were sort of making fun of the fact that Princess Anne might have done it on purpose, well, I gave you my whisper that although it wasn't spitefully, maliciously done, as in, right, I've got a plume and I'm going to sit in front of Harry, but I did tell you that the family had found it especially hilarious and that it was, I don't know what the right word is, not a contrivance, but put it this way, when Princess Anne found out what she was wearing and was discussing with the family seating arrangements and mentioned the fact that her plume was going to obscure whoever's view it was, and sort of said to them, I wonder who will be sitting behind me. That was the moment when everybody peed their pants at the prospect of the thought that it might be Prince Harry. And yes, it was decided that things would work out rather perfectly with the addition of the plume and the prince. Well, I told you that. I told you there was much hilarity within the family Now this week the papers are telling everybody what I told you. A royal insider told, I think it was Richard Eden from the Daily Express or someone, said that it prompted much hilarity among the family about where the plume ended up and what it ended up obscuring. Well, yes, I shared that information with you weeks ago, and I'll tell you better. The loudest laughs were emanating from the Tyndalls. Yes. They were the ones that found it absolutely hilarious and encouraged the scenario. Should we put it that way? Yes, the Princess Royal took part in an investiture, and a few notables were Ian Rankin, who received a knighthood, so he is now Sir Ian Rankin, the Scottish crime writer he is, in case you don't recognise him or his name. Also, Cleopatra Palmer becomes MBE for services to drama, and now she is 78 years old. Doesn't she look wonderful? 78. She was the first black woman to play a leading role at the National Theatre many decades ago. And here is the sports star Denise Lewis, who becomes Dame Commander of the British Empire, looking absolutely stunning, I thought. I love that dress. Princess Anne is also president of the Carers Trust, and she visited a carers support centre to see the activities and the support that family carers in the area receive. She was utterly royal in blue gloves. Wonderful to see a splash of colour at the glove, wasn't it? It's not seen that often these days, and it is a reminder that it would be wonderful to see Katharine start wearing gloves, in my opinion, with all the handshaking that they are insisting on doing these days. Very royal Anne was, with her starched collar and a cuppa in hand. Couldn't get more royal, more British, and with that whipped-up hairdo. Wonderful. Whipped-up hairdo, pearls and brooch. Beautiful. That's royalty, my dear. That's royalty. And the smile of the gal, it lights up the room. It really does. And she almost becomes younger when she smiles. It's gorgeous. Everybody around her responds. That is the magic of royalty. And one of the CEOs of the charity enterprise said, Her Royal Highness took the time to listen to so many carers. She shared such kindness and compassion. Her commitment to carers and knowledge about the issues they face is astounding. We are a small local charity, so her visit helps us to raise the profile of carers and the work we do to support them. Absolutely right. Hear, hear. The Duke of Edinburgh met with Ukrainian soldiers undergoing military training in the UK as part of Operation Interflex, which is a multinational operation training new recruits in the skills needed to survive and carry out effective frontline combat. Serious business there for Prince Edward. And his wife Sophie was bright and breezy, continuing her charm offensive, because the kingdom is just falling in love with Sophie. As honorary president of the LEAF, which is Linking Environment and Farming, she was welcomed to a farm in Surrey this time, where she met with professionals in the food production industry and with inspiring young people who are setting out on career paths in that sector, where they discussed cattle health, hop production, agri-technology, all kinds of things, my dear. And she met the local butcher as she tasted the produce. She had a good old feed, and she had fun with all the children. She loves to be around them. And I also wanted to share these images with you from the Chelsea Flower Show, because I don't think I did last week, and I thought she looked especially lovely there. She certainly is enjoying this Indian summer. She is over 50 years old, so she has progressed into the autumn season. But it is an Indian summer kind of fall for our Sophie. She looks made for this season, with the splash of freckles on her face, the golden sunshine of harvest in her hair, and the breezy charm that she has, remaining so very royal and upper crust, while having the common touch, but never being common. And to end today's romper of royal goings-on, we welcome to the fold and to the stables of royalty Juno. In a small ceremony in the Clarence House garden, the Queen met the household cavalry's newest drum horse and revealed their official name, which is Juno. By tradition, drum horses are given names from classical mythology. Juno is no exception. After completing 2 years of training, Juno is going to be the first mare to take on this iconic role for the regiment. And you will see her soon, because she is set to formally pass out of training at the King's Birthday Parade this weekend, where she will carry the rank of Major, leading the mounted parade. And this Shire horse mare was previously known as Willa Rose. But Willa Rose becomes Juno in her royal role. And the Queen presented Juno with a head collar featuring a brass name plaque. So very official. And the Queen was resplendent in her summer greens with those white splashy dots as she fed the horse polo mints to keep Juno sweet. And she was presented with a portrait by Mandy's shepherd. So wasn't that a lovely sprinkling of summery royal news? It certainly brought some cheer to my day, and I hope that it brought some to yours too. Thank you for joining me, my dear fruits, and I look forward to seeing you in the next broadcast. Enjoy the evening ahead, and toodaloo. Ta-ra!